Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today, I'll be sharing a story with you. The movie begins with a young girl called Yong staring at a speaker on the wall. She then starts screwing and tightening some bolts in a radio. When she's doing so, it is revealed that Yong is in a mental institute where her mother can be seen talking to the head of the institution regarding her daughter's condition. She provides a little background of her family's history to the doctor, where she reveals that Yong had a mentally ill grandmother who also had been sent to an asylum after thinking she was a mouse. The scene then cuts back to Yong, who is now extending the radio antenna to the ceiling. She then loses touch with reality and begins slitting her hands and connects a power cord to her arm in an attempt to recharge herself. This causes her to fall on the ground in literal shock. In the next scene, Yong is seen in the mental hospital ward where she is conscious but in a daze. A woman then starts moving her bed across the corridor and starts telling her stories of different patients in the asylum. Soon, a doctor appears and scolds the woman for taking patients out of their rooms again. We learn that the woman who took Yong is also a patient in the asylum. The doctor tells Yong to not take her story seriously as the woman has dementia and does not know what she is talking about. Later, the same doctor goes out for a walk with her colleague. They talk about Yong and her possible severe depression. The doctor also talks about how Yong doesn't talk to anyone and doesn't even move a finger. In the next scene, we see Yong walking through the hallway at night. She suddenly stops underneath a light and looks at it with happiness. She then goes and talks to a vending machine. One of the patients in a rabbit mask called Il-soon sees her and gets intrigued by her, so he approaches Yong and starts following her. She then goes to talk to a fridge, and it is revealed that Yong thinks she is a cyborg and is low in battery. She then shows the fridge her toes, claiming that once her big toe is lit, she will be fully charged. But right now, only her little toe is lit, so she is low in battery. Later, she goes to make friends with the telephone, and that is when the head nurse of the asylum finds her. She tells Yong that she has been missing her meals and brings her to eat some food in the cafeteria. The head nurse tries to get her to eat, but Yong takes out a box of batteries instead and starts licking them. Unable to convince her to eat, Yong happily heads back to her ward and extends her radio antenna and meditates. The next morning, the doctor meets some of the patients for their weekly therapy session. The patients all start complaining about how Il-soon stole Thursday away. The group soon get heated up and everyone soon start going crazy in the session. However, Il-soon doesn't say a word and instead lowers his rabbit mask down and covers his face. After the session, Yong goes to her vending machine best friend and tells it about Il-soon. She then tells the machine her plan, where she wants Il-soon to steal something from her. So the next day, Yong starts following Il-soon, but he quickly notices this and goes to confront her about it. He then sees Yong trying to hide from him in the fridge, but of course she fails. Il-soon calls her crazy and then walks away. At night, Yong goes to talk to her radio. The radio asks her why she hasn't rescued her grandmother from the evil white people and bring her dentures to her yet. She tells the radio that she's low in battery and don't even have enough power to escape. She soon gets upset over her failure to recharge and inability to save her grandmother. The next day, Il-soon can be seen tricking a fellow patient to giving him his silver paper mask to him. After acquiring it, Il-soon happily shows off his new mask to fellow patients in the mental hospital. While filling up some water, Il-soon gets a shock when he sees Yong approaching him. She tells him that he is a good robber and asks him to steal her sympathy away so she can be a full cyborg. Il-soon then tells her that he only steals stuff that are important to people, that she should first not want to lose her sympathy and has to love her sympathy first. Yong then agrees to treasure her sympathy so he can steal it. So the next day, Yong goes to shake hands with as many people as possible to utilize her sympathy, while Il-soon spies on her from a distance. Later, while Yong is licking her batteries in cafeteria, Il-soon sees that her grandmother's dentures are important to her, so he steals them for her. In the night, Yong finds out her grandmother's dentures are missing and quickly goes to find it but is unable to. The next morning, During another therapy session, Il-soon secretly tries to put Yong-gun's dentures back in her bag, but she sees that and gets mad at him for stealing her dentures and attacks him. That night, Yong-gun's radio tells her that her grandmother had been moved to another hospital. Fearing for her grandmother's safety, she meets up with Il-soon and begs him to steal her sympathy. He does some weird voodoo on her and finally snaps his fingers. This somehow works and Yong-gun loses her sympathy. She starts jumping over stairs and goes to the mental hospital's lobby filled with doctors. She raises her hands and turns into a murder machine cyborg, turning her fingers and mouth into machine guns and start wiping the doctors out. But it turns out Yong-gun is just hallucinating the event as doctors stare at her with confusion. She then faints and falls to the ground. One of the doctors then approaches the head nurse and asks if Yong-gun had been eating her meals. The nurse then cries, knowing that Yong-gun had fainted due to lack of food. Realizing that Yong-gun's condition is worsening, the doctors decide to send her for shock therapy in hopes to reset her brain so that she will start eating food again. After receiving the treatment, Yong-gun's biggest toes light up, signaling that she has full power. When the doctor takes her to a ward, she stops the doctor and tells her that she feels energized and happily walks from her wheelchair. She then turns around and shooting a fury of bullets at the doctor with her mouth and hands once again. She then goes to a room full of doctors and nurses and start murdering them too. She continues her rampage outside until she has wiped every hospital staff out. Il-soon, who had seen everything she had done, gets frightened and ends up shaking on the hospital floor. A doctor then goes to talk to him to find out what had happened. Il-soon tells him that he feels sympathy for Yong-gun's shock therapy. It is then revealed that the mass rampage before was all just hallucination of Il-soon. Yong-gun is then seen to be locked up in the mental hospital isolation room. Wanting to free Yong-gun from her solitary confinement, Il-soon manages to get help from some patients to go on a food strike in order to get Yong-gun out of confinement. The doctor tells them all that Yong-gun is in confinement because she refuses to eat and needs to be kept under observation until she recovers. Realizing the doctor isn't going to release Yong-gun, the patients go to collect food to eat, leaving only Il-soon alone on the food strike. In the confinement room, doctors can be seen trying to feed Yong-gun some food, but she tries to shoot her way out of it, but soon runs low on battery and passes out. Just then, Il-soon bursts through the door, hoping to stop the doctors from feeding Yong-gun. He quickly puts something under her blanket and tries to pull her out, but the doctors manage to take him away and throw him in confinement too. Turns out this was part of his plan, because after he gets locked up, he asks Yong-gun to use the telephone cups he had given her just now to communicate. He then passes some stockings to her through the windows and tells her that the stockings are magic and it can help her fly and escape from the room. She quickly puts it on and starts rubbing her legs together. She soon starts flying and ends up in a field where she meets Il-soon and rests on his shoulder. Suddenly, Yong-gun's grandmother appears, so she quickly runs to her. Her grandmother, who has a large rubber band attached to her, tells her that she is leaving, so Yong-gun tries to hold on to her, but the rubber band around the old lady pulls her to the sky, and Yong-gun's grandmother disappears. The next day, Yong-gun's mother visits her to tell her the news of her grandmother's death. Turns out her hallucination was depicting her grandmother's demise. This greatly saddens Yong-gun, so she buries a mouse in remembrance of her grandmother. Il-soon sees this and goes to comfort her. During this time, he also lands one on Yong-gun, and the two share a romantic moment. After that, Yong-gun faints once again, due to lack of food in her body. Back in the hospital, Il-soon decides to solve Yong-gun's eating problems by creating a special device that converts food into electric current so Yong-gun can eat again. So the two sneak into the basement and Il-soon begins performing surgery on her. He draws a door and places the device inside her, with Yong-gun thanking him for his help. The next day, Il-soon takes Yong-gun to the cafeteria to have her first meal. She tries eating a scoop of rice but quickly fails to do so and run away. She then tells Il-soon that she is afraid that she will break down if the device doesn't work, so in order to let her have a peace of mind, Il-soon passes her lifetime warranty card for his device. This gives Yong-gun confidence, so she goes back and takes her first bite of real food. This makes Il-soon and everyone proud of her accomplishment. Yong-gun's biggest toes light up, signaling her full power. In the next scene, Yong-gun and Il-soon are seen trekking up a mountain in a stormy night. They place a metal rod in the middle of nowhere and sit in between it. The movie ends with them hoping to get struck by lightning together. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to subscribe for more crazy videos.